Good morning, everyone. Forgive me if I'm still working on my public speaking skills. As the founder of the Shades of Blue project, Kay Matthews and her team are on a mission to uplift all birthing individuals with the care, respect, and dignity they deserve. No matter their social status or birth outcome, we focus on the birthing experience, and this is how we bridge the gaps by acknowledging everyone's birth story matters. So I'd like to introduce Kay Matthews.
Good morning, y'all. One more time. Good morning, y'all. Good morning. And good morning to y'all on the virtual space as well. Y'all missing out. In the room is the energy that you feel, especially in this work. I think that energy is a big part of it. The energy that we feel that we are also connected to is what I know is what I personally need to keep going in this space. So I'm imploring folks that it's time for us to get back together because that's a part of this, especially since I'm about to talk about mental health. It's a part of it. So my presentation, which I'm grateful for slides today, y'all, because I'm more of a TED talker. I like to walk and sit and all the things. So I'm going to kind of stick to the script just a tad bit today. Not too much, though, but I do have slides to keep me on task. And see? Okay. So I am Kay Matthews, the executive director and founder of the Shades of Blue project, based in Houston, Texas. The not so great state of Texas is what we're calling it right now, because doing this work in any space can be a struggle, but in my home state, it is a extra layer of struggle for us right now, but we shall prevail. The Shades of Blue project, really, I created, honestly, this organization from my own birthing experience. I delivered my daughter stillborn, and that is also where my care stopped. I was no longer a birthing person, let alone a mama. The interaction with the hospital staff, just everything from that point on just made me go, I also, in my birthing experience, that I was a Black woman in America, and that's who they saw me as. Not as Kay, not as Kadrian, as my mother refers to me as my birth name. That's not who I was. I was just a Black woman who lost a baby, and that's it. That did not sit right with me because that was my first interaction in that way. And so the struggle began, an unnecessary struggle, I would also add to that. And so I wanted to create something that did not feel like that, something that you would walk into and you'd feel the hug. If I was not in the room, you would still feel the love from my staff. From anybody that you encountered, that you would get resources and that you didn't feel like you came to another dead end, another place where they couldn't help you or they had to send you somewhere. Now, sometimes, being completely honest, we cannot give you everything, but we do know somebody who can't give you the things that we can't give you. And so that's a different feeling from walking somewhere and them saying we simply can't help you. Curating a space that addresses a lot of what we don't typically think about, especially from the cultural perspective. Again, I am a Black woman. I wake up Black every day, and I'm often penalized simply just because of that before I even open up my mouth and share with you my accolades and all of the other things. That is what I am seen as. We wanted to create a space where you are seen as a person from the moment you open up our doors. So that's what the Shades of Blue project is. That's just the professional overview of it. And so I always want to talk about the numbers, because what we often don't think about with the numbers is that these numbers are real people. And so when you're talking 1 out of 7, 1 out of 4, okay, but my clients don't know about 1 out of 7, 1 out of 4, but I am going to figure out and continue to show them that when you see data and people are talking about statistics, they are talking about you. They're talking about your mother, your cousin, your auntie. They're talking about you, and that's what these numbers are, and that's what these statistics are, and that's why you have to understand it. We are the community. I am the community. No one is exempt from being a community. I always remind folks, I am an executive director for funding, but I am K because that's who the people come in and ask for. Is Miss K here? Where's Miss K? They don't ask for an executive director. So understanding that I am still connected to the very community that I serve because I am the community. And so when we think about 1 in 7, this is clearly what is happening with our white counterparts. And don't be remiss, when I talk about Black maternal mental health, I am talking about it because Black women are leading the way in the horrible statistics, but it does not mean that it is not happening to our friends. And so currently, 1 out of 7 white women can experience postpartum depression, but 1 in 4 Black women can experience it, but yet it goes undiagnosed or not even recognized because of all of the myths and things that are attached to us, that we don't feel pain in a certain way, or we're so mentally strong that we are exempt and we are not. And so if that's how you see us, that is how you miss this. And this is why we continue to go undiagnosed. And so when I think about those numbers, and I also look at it when I think about the gaps, and like I said, I am the community. What's the connection? Like, what's the correlation between the two? Again, another vital statistic, formal. But here's the informal of hearing voices and what we know. So when we talk about social determinants of health, we hear that word a lot, but what does that mean for like a regular everyday person? When we talk about food insecurities, how do we look at food insecurities? Food insecurities is that the closest thing next to me is the gas station, and the little gas station may have some fruit, may have some other things, but they don't have like those core things that I need. That is what food insecurity means to me. It is a lot more than this. Transportation, yes, there's a bus that runs in my neighborhood, but it's 2 miles away and I gotta walk with my bags, with my kids. Also thinking back around to food insecurities. If I go to the grocery store, that's that same bus I gotta get on to walk 2 miles to get home. These are the things. Can we think about social determinants of health in a way in which it is? It is a social barrier. It is barrier on top of barrier. And then when we think about stability of housing, the workplace situations that we have been in for many, many years. I've been on this earth for 43 and a half years, and those things existed long before I was here. So we are in a continuum of knowing the same thing and continuing to ask, how can we fix these things? Listening to the community, listening to the very people that it is going to affect. And so I always want to bring in my mama's voices, my birthing individual voices. When we talk about the postpartum period, here are some of the top barriers. We all know them, we all see them. If I step from here, am I going to be out of camera view? Am I still gonna, if I move, will I be out of view of the camera? Okay. This slide, I'm telling y'all, I'm gonna take it. All right. So when we think about these top barriers, I know that working in the community, y'all have seen these. Y'all can even just have seen these from talking to people that you know. Doesn't even have to, but we have begun to normalize these type of conversations. One, we know I'm not happy with the care my doctor gave me. That'd be the #1 reason why I'm not going back. Like, yeah, okay, they helped me here, but my interaction with them was horrible. I'm not going back there, so that means that carry-ons to everybody. Could be a whole nother doctor that you need to see, but you're only thinking about the last time you saw a doctor, and that's how you look at it. I went after my other child, and I didn't think I need to go again. This one right here, I always tell my, let's breathe a little bit. Because who told you that? You could be 5 kids in, and this is the same thing that you keep. So for 5 children, this is what you have believed, and no one has told you any different. But that's the thing. So we see some of these, and we be like, nobody's actually saying, no, these are things. On a continuum, no matter, it's a continuum. But nobody is saying, like, this is not the norm. It is not okay to think that if you do ask for help, somebody's gonna take your children. We keep saying that, y'all, but that's a real thing. We talk about CPS, whatever it's called in your area, your neck of the woods. You know, if I say I need any help that raises a red flag, somebody coming to take my baby away, somebody coming to have a conversation with me that could lead to taking my children away, so I'm gonna keep quiet. This has to be the stopping point. This cannot be a continuum of where we are, because every time I show this slide, everybody in the room identifies it. So it don't matter where you at. This is a continuum for us. This is where this has to stop. When we talk about, Representative Decker talked about systems and policy, those are the things that these things lead to. If we didn't have CPS on our necks and on our backs the way we do, then we would not be afraid to go into a system to get help that is supposedly designed to help us, but we know better. So I always have to say this statement, because when I think about postpartum depression or anxiety or a postpartum period, it is not always inclusive of all birthing stories. There was no correlation of infant loss with postpartum depression when I lost my daughter, yet that is what I was experiencing. A long 8-month stint, I feel like it was a prison, so I'm gonna call it a stint. A long 8-month stint before just going and getting a pap smear, talking to that doctor and telling him how I was feeling, that he acknowledged what I was feeling 8 months later. Not my OB, not her team, because when I lost my daughter, that's when their care stopped. That is not okay. And so we must be inclusive of all birth stories, no matter the outcome. We have to start focusing on folks' experiences, because if we acknowledge your experience, then you're more likely to have a conversation with me about how you're feeling, because an experience is acknowledging your mental health. An experience is acknowledging how you feel about something. But when we focus on outcome, that's where we stay at. And how we fight for the point of how we fight for what has happened to someone, we also have to fight for how they feel about what has happened to them, so they can be in the fight with us. So this is where this statement comes from. I live and breathe it, because again, outcomes are part of it, but experiences is the other half. What are some of the solutions? So we all know the problems. We do. We know the problems. What are our solutions? What do we know that will work, and what we hear from the communities that we serve? Here are some of the steps. When we talk about changing procedures and processes, that's one of them. Addressing barriers within our delivery care systems. Again, if we have something that is set up to protect us, why is it harming us? So we have to look at big picture here. Creating community-driven solutions that will optimize the care. Meaning, you can have a great system, but who in the community was sitting at that table when you created it? And if they were, then how can we continue to build on that? If you're the smartest person in the room, that's the problem. You have to have other people involved. Everybody has an opinion. You also have to curate opinions that matter and that are going to yield results, and that's what solutions are. And so our collective efforts in action is what I created, which was the Inspire method. Is it me? Told you I'm bad at this. Okay. It was created for the community, with community involvement. And I say that created the Inspire method almost 10 years ago. We celebrate 10 years next year, but I knew nothing about systems and protocols and models, and I didn't know nothing about that. What I knew was what worked for me in a very, very hard place. What can I share with other folks? So even if they are feeling stuck and their situation may not be necessarily mine, but how can what helped me help them? That's what this whole thing was derived from. And so I knew honestly that traditional approaches to postpartum depression weren't working. My case in point. Everything that you knew, I did not fit into that box, so I did not fit, and so I was on the outside of the box looking in. So I can personally say traditional approaches to postpartum depression were not working, and as I continue to listen to other folks' story and see, I also knew that to be facts as well. And so curating something, again, this is the Inspire method. I had to come up with something extremely simple, like what can I tell myself on the daily? What word can I use to keep me going? It happened to be the word inspire, and then I kept staring at the wall like, that ain't gonna be enough. Okay, now what? Like, what is this word going to help me do on the daily? The first part was to involve others. I did not like asking people for help, because even if they asked me if I needed help, I didn't know how to tell them what help I needed, and they got frustrated. I got frustrated, so I said, forget it. Which is the opposite of what has to happen. In reality, we need people, even if we need a person, but that's still people. We have to get other folks involved in this healing process. The nourishment and exercise simply comes down to, did you eat today? Because it's Friday and maybe the last time you had something to eat was Tuesday, and that's a real thing. That's what I mean by nourishment. Exercise, did you get up and leave the bedroom today and maybe go into the living room? That's what we mean by exercise, movement of some sort, and not just sitting and wasting away, which is something that I did for a very long time before. Just something, you know what, in reality, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I had to realize that I had to save myself. And that's a sad reality to sit into. But it was my reality, but I also wanted to, when I got better, I kept saying, I'm gonna help somebody so they don't have to go for this long enough time for people to not understand what is happening. Spirituality and prayer, the thing about that is religion was used as a weapon, can be used as a weapon. I felt it was, because, pray it away, pray about it, all those things. I feel like that was a weapon towards me, but to say like maybe I wasn't praying hard enough. That's how I heard it. Well, I was praying, or maybe I wasn't praying hard enough because this yielded this result, all of that. So we have to be very, very, very aware how religion, this is not, thank God, inspired. I'm not using religion as the R and inspire. Instead, I'm using spirituality and prayer, because you're either spiritual or you have a prayer life. Religion is a whole nother category. Patience, we're not born with it. It's something that we learned. I implore you to not tell somebody to give time, because me personally, I kept watching for the time in which this thing would stop and go away, and it did not come as quickly as it was proposed that give it time would do. So patience is something that we learn. People always say things need to change, or you need to change, or some got to change, but what they skip over is to identify exactly what it is that you need to change for yourself. So the IA means identify and then initiate change. That's the only way, because changing something somebody else told you to do is never going to work, because you're not all in. So you got to identify for yourself and initiate the change in a way in which you need it, because this is self. This is a selfish model, because self is in that word, and so you have to be able to focus on you. Rest and relaxation does not mean running on the beach in little shorts in the water. That's not what that is. Rest and relaxation is, I'm gonna write 10 minutes on a piece of paper and put it somewhere where you see it. That means I need 10 minutes to clear my mind, get myself together, whatever it needs. I need 10 minutes. I need 15 minutes. I need 30 minutes. It is me acknowledging that I need a break, and it's you acknowledging that I need a break, and you're respecting that this is what I need. That is something that we have to, again, for ourselves, get more rest and relaxation, and it will not be picture perfect. For me personally, I pull up in my driveway every day and sit. One, I want to leave the Shades of Blue project outside my house, and then I want to walk into my peace, and I do not want to carry those things with me. And so that's what I have realized my rest and relaxation means for me in this era that I am in. It is to leave those things outside my door and then walk into my peace and be okay. And then I had to be able to get to a point where I am starting anew. Stop blaming myself if things don't go right, wrong, or everywhere in between. And so each day is a new day to start again. So if I do nothing before that E, and I wake up the next day, I get to start again. And that's just what it comes down to, figuring out a way to inspire yourself on the daily. Recovery is a daily thing. Things will pop up 5, 10, 7, 12, 20 years later. And that's okay. But when you have learned to inspire yourself, you don't stay stuck in that. You're able to maneuver through what that looks like. It does not deplete your whole entire day. And you find something that motivates you to keep going. This is what I wanted to share with people. This is why the Shades of Blue Project Full Circle exists. Now, I told y'all I didn't know about logic models and none of this stuff. What I wanted to see, though, in my own community is, will this thing work? Like, did I really just make this stuff for myself? Like, is it gonna work? I called a bunch of other like community-based agencies in my neighborhood and said, hey, can I come in and do this support group thing? And only one of them was like, yeah, come on in. It happened to be an organization that supported mamas with, they had to take some type of support or training in order to get baby supplies. I was like, oh, okay, great. This will be great. Those people kept me, y'all, for 2 years. Let me just say. They would not let me go. I had to take an exit because the reality of it is what I learned in doing this project of those who were in our Inspired group and then those who were not is across the board. I learned that in some aspect, we all really truly do need support, which is why that involve others makes sense. We all need some type of support. And as I continue to do this, like I listed out Dr. Fleeta Mass Jackson, her work helped me, especially along the stress test method that was created. It really helped me to see big picture that in all of the time I was doing this, I actually was not by myself. I just had not made that connection because this was not going to be. This is not what I said I wanted to grow up and be. This is where life took me, and this is the path that it took me on, and so I wanted to do it to the best of my ability while doing it. And so we did one group that was not a part of the Inspire Method and one group that was. And so group one, there were some of the things, not the entire model of the Inspire Method that we use, but we did use like traditional methods. What I always found funny is how we just genuinely think about support groups as a quick therapy session. Like, I don't have money to go to a therapy session, but I can go to one of these support groups. That's a quick therapy session. And like, I got that. Like, I was like, I get it, because therapy is really high. Like, I can connect with that, right? And so, numbers wise, again, tied to real people, they liked it, they did it because they got a little bit of something out of it. But, you know, the proverbial but that we kind of wait for in these things, a lot of them were able to manage their stress, and that was a big part of it. At least coming to the group, they were getting something out of it. Group two was my group with the Inspire Method. Of course, all of our key components of the Inspire Method, we were really working to be able to touch on, especially the coping skills and the distress tolerance, because that is typically what holds us back and how we cannot move forward. And then these were the results of the Inspire Method group and their feedback. It's the willingness to seek help for me, and understanding that support groups play a part, but it is not the only part, and that it is a continuum of care, and it is going to require other things, not just one thing. Now this is me figuring this out, like along the way, like, okay, like this could actually work, like people could actually adapt it, you know, like this is a thing right here. So collective change, I always talk about for greater impact. Again, I started this organization just for me to be able to help others. But what that has led me to is seeing what's out there, seeing how, if this is what we're going to do, you know, having that conversation with myself, if this is what we're going to do, we're going to have to learn from others and see how maybe what they are doing is not working so well, and then what they are doing well, let's cheer them on too. Like, this has to be a collective, collaborative effort, because we are not going to be able to serve everybody in the world, but the goal definitely is to change the world. I'm gonna step to this side again. So one of the things that I am most proud of is being able to, when mamas of birthing individuals come through the Inspire Method, they also have the ability to turn that into employment. They can lead one of our support group as a support group leader, and our support group leaders are paid. We are training the community leaders like other nonprofits, church leaders, because I talked about religion. That's a big piece. Religion starts. I can talk about it, but I also have to be working. He came and saved me. Okay, so working with church leaders, because religion is a big piece, especially within our communities of color. We're gonna go to church, but when we get there, we also need a little bit more than just a sermon that day or whatever. We need something more directive. And then there are the mothers and the women. We in the church, like these are conversations and things that we need to be having conversations with. Training healthcare professionals, doctors, nurses, community health workers are a big part of who we are, because that's who I am. And so community health workers play a big, huge component within our communities, and they're too often overlooked. They are the boots on the ground that are going out into a lot of these homes. I know in Texas, they are going into homes, things like that. So they are a big piece, part of this work that we are doing. Training those that are in national programs. So we work with Healthy Start, train their professionals because they're all over. Just giving them a different way to, one, use this. So that's one part I left out as a progression of the Inspire method, is we encourage folks, one, you got to learn to use this for yourself, because it will be so much easier to share with your client if you actually using the Inspire method for yourself. So going through the training is going to be imperative for you to implement in your day-to-day, because again, it becomes easier to do. Also, the Inspire method is a journal-based program. So we have a journal that goes along with it, because that's what helped me, that writing down and stopping the insanity, because that's literally, if I had a bad day 2 weeks ago and it kind of feel like deja vu, I go back in my journal and be like, how did you do the exact same? Okay, let's stop. But I had that as a reference point, something to go back to. So the Inspire method is a journal-based program. We also have an adult coloring book, because what I find is that coloring takes your mind off a lot of things. You're trying to make sure you within the lines and that it's picture perfect, because we're adults now, we're not kids. So we're not coloring outside the lines. It's got to be perfect, because you don't want nobody to be like, did a 5-year-old color this or a 35-year-old? So we have an adult coloring book that really steers your mind to focus really honestly on you. There's reinforcements throughout. What I did with that pilot project prior to this is I always ask them, what were we missing? The journal that we have now is actually our 4th journal. Prior to doing the study out in the community, it was like, what do you need more of? And it was like, we need more of positive reinforcement when we're not in the room with you. Like, it's great when we're here with you, but what happens when we go home and we're out and we're struggling? So we put more positive affirmations in there, more blank pages, line pages. So however it is you need it and whatever you needed that day, you could find it, because this journal is yours. And so also is the coloring book. It's a reinforcement. It's you reminding yourself that you can do this, or what it is you need to remind yourself on the daily, especially when you're having really great days and having really bad days. Those things will then start to cancel out, because it is you. What I had to learn in doing this work is that my organization and the people that work with me, we only 5% of that healing that has to take place. The other 95% is on the client. I cannot want this more for you than you want for yourself. And so the only way I can get you to see that is to give you what we give you, make that very clear so you understand that this is a working relationship and a partnership. And this is how we're going to do that. But I have to be clear with you up front, because then your expectations may be higher than what I am able to deliver. And this is how we fail in social support services, by not being really honest with our clients. So again, from this work, we created the Black Maternal Health Summit. It's a bi-yearly occurrence, so we had it this year. It was great. We don't want to miss a window of opportunity, so we're coming back in 2023. And then we created Black Maternal Mental Health Week, which is an awareness campaign around Black maternal mental health, like as a whole, the correlation between Black maternal health and all of the things. And that happens July 19th through the 25th. Again, I know how important the policy piece is. We have worked on the Momnibus, specifically around the Moms Matter Act, which we gonna keep at it with this Momnibus. That's all we can do. It's a collective effort for big radical change, is what it is. So we're going to have to keep fighting for it. And then collectively working with both maternal and mental health organizations that are willing to make the shift that needs to happen a priority. And what I mean by that is maternal mental health can't be an and or part of any conversation. It has to be an and. So when we talk about maternal health, we must talk about maternal mental health. And so what has been our biggest lessons learned? This is what we live by at the Shades of Blue Project. It's the key components to everything that we do, how the service that we deliver, our interactions with our clients. The very first thing is acknowledgement. I see you. Like in a world that doesn't often see us, we are letting our clients know that we see you. You're not invisible. It is okay. What is it exactly that you need? Which then lends to respect. It is our dignity, most often when we need social support services, that we feel is stripped from us because we need someone's help, which is why it makes it very difficult to ask for help. It's because we're not respected. It's like, no, you came here for help. However I talk to you is how I talk to you. No, that is not okay. We respect you. Just, what is the saying? Respect is earned and not given. Let's just scratch a line through that, because that is not okay. Actually, we give respect. Now, what you do with it, that's completely up to you, but you don't have to earn it, because you don't know me and I don't know you. So I'm going to give you respect automatically out the gate. And then support. Supporting folks how they need and how they want. Both. Got to give them both. If you come in, you fill out an application, that's your need. And then our conversation with you is going to lead to your want. So it is more than a piece of paper that you fill out. It is engagement and communication, because those are the key components to serving folks out here in the community in a way that is going to yield better outcomes, full circle. And so this is us. I always like to share. Again, we are the community. We're always out in the community. We love the folks that come to us and that we are able to interact and engage with. They keep us going. As they say, we keep each other going. That's what that lends to be. The goal is to continue to do this work as long as it is yielding results that make sense and that have long-term impact, not just short-term. Short-term is important, but the long-term impact. And that's our overall, what are we doing out here to make change happen? We know full circle that when we think about statistics, I always have to come back to this number conversation. When we think about statistics, we got to do a lot better of the engagement in holding folks accountable. In Texas, specifically, around our mortality, morbidity is atrocious. We haven't had a report in a long time, and then we still haven't gotten a report. And we sitting on the report, but those things are like, again, they're going to say what they're going to say. And what they're going to say is black people still dying out here. And that it may have gotten a little bit better, but it hasn't gotten better for us. And so this is why this is not a place where we want to keep leading in. We want to make this thing different. But it is truly going to take this collective effort that no one has ever seen before. We continue to see policy changes that are truly affecting our everyday, no matter the color of our skin, but because of the color of our skin, some of us are being affected more. So when we think about these people and the people that we are serving, we just deserve more. All of us do. Include yourself in that, because you're a part of that equation. Just because we're advocates and we're in these positions, we are not exempt. I have to say that because I think it's not often said enough. And so with that, I'm going to stop and ask y'all, if y'all have any questions, because I'm a TED talker, so I can go on and on, because I feel like that's how we get to real solutions, is by continuing to have these conversations that make us uncomfortable, but they yield results. The uncomfortable conversations is what really truly yield results, and how we can move forward more collaboratively in a better way. So I'll stop there. But yes, Let me know if y'all have any thank you, girl. Let me know if y'all have, any questions in the room. So, that just keeps coming up. I don't think I'm there yet. I have to learn to not cuss so much. I did good though. Oh, okay, really? So no one ever said I didn't have to cuss. Okay, thank you, Representative Decker. I may reconsider that whole thing now. But no, it's really about staying connected to the people that you serve and not being disconnected by titles. That's how I feel about that. I like being K. That's not going to change me because I feel like if that changes, it will change the way in which I serve. And then that's when I should not do this work anymore. Questions?
We got time for about one more question.
Okay. Go ahead.
So, I know about you, I know of you. This is my first time hearing about the Inspire method. Oh, yeah. Thank you. I know we're in the same neck of the woods, really. Both of us are in
Texas is a
Texas.
world, though. It's not just a state. So yeah.
It's a planet, a strange one. So, over in Austin, I am just curious because I want to get more connected and involved. I'm curious if you've spread your work outside of Houston as yet, or if you have plans to do so.
So here's the catch to that. We serve 25 states right now.
Oh, lovely.
It is not something that I am proud of because what that leads to is further dysfunction within our states where I have to go if I live in Boston and I'm getting support from Texas because our programs give free diapers and wipes. I left that part out. So in exchange for free diapers and wipes, you do have to attend one of our support groups and we have 9 to choose from. And so with that, we can mail out anywhere upwards to 60 to 80 boxes a week. We mail out weekly. So serving under other states is not a proud moment for me, but we are serving. And so we will continue to do it. And so the answer to your question is I have more so been out of Texas because when I was in Texas, they were not playing fair by me. And so I go out and build a national organization and then put our maternal mental health resource center smack dab in the middle of Houston to say, I'm here, I've been here, we've been doing this for almost 10 years. So Austin is a 2-hour drive, which is why we keep crossing paths. It's because my time in Texas and grounding in that space, that's where I am. Texas is home, but home doesn't always, welcome you in. But I have really decided to dig my heels in to the state that I am based in and continue to do this work nationally, but definitely build up what is happening at home. Thank you.
All right. Any others before we take a break? Oh.
Hi, my name is Allison Jacobson, and I'm the Executive Director of First Candle, and we're the national organization that addresses sudden unexpected infant death. Okay. And we do a lot of education and outreach in communities, and clearly one of the big issues is maternal mental health and caring for the baby. And so my question is, do you do anything in your programs talking about safe sleep, and if you're, where do you have a safe place for your baby to sleep, and that kind of information along with breastfeeding?
So we have all kinds of programs. So I have a maternal mental health resource center based in Houston, and we are moving into this digital space, which we were actually released in 2023 of February. Our Inspire Collaborative, which is a space where trainings can take place. But in the Inspire method, it's truly tailored to the people that are in that training. So when you fill out the application, tell us what your focus is. We incorporate this. The reason why I include the Inspire method is so that it can be utilized across whatever you need it to be, because it fits into everything and in every space. So the answer is yes to that question. We have to do a coverall. Because again, inclusive to experiences versus outcomes is how we're more inclusive of everyone, so we're not leaving anybody out. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, Kay. Thank you. I just want to say to the virtual world as well, thank you, Kay, for your wonderful presentation and being here with us today. So we're going to take a quick 15-minute break, and then we'll be coming right back with our next presentation featuring one of our dynamic community-based organizations. Thank you.